Hello, my most awesome artist. Today we are going to make our pancake stack from clay. So I have a mat here. As you can see, some of the clay is going through here, which is why we want a mat underneath this canvas. We want the canvas because that will absorb some of the moisture from the clay and it will work a little bit better. If you would just use the mat, then your canvas rather than your canvas, then the mat would have the clay sticking to it and you would be very frustrated because you would not be getting your piece off of the mat. So to start off, you're going to get a chunk of clay. It may or may not be this big. This is a little big, so I'm just going to cut it in half and pull part off, and you are going to get your roller. If there's clay caked on it, you might want to scrape it off. It should be dry. This is wet just because I was using it. Okay, and I'm going to start rolling out this piece of clay that I have here. You can flip it over so you can get it more even, but you want it to be roughly the same evenness all around. It should be also the size of your pinky almost. So the thickness of your pinky. You don't want it to be too thick and you don't want it to be too thin, because if it's too thin, it's going to rip. And if it's too thick, it can blow up in the kiln. And then it can take out other people's pieces. And we don't want that to happen. Now, if it's starting to get a little dry and cracked, just add some water, because clay starts drying out as soon as it's exposed to the air. So water is always needed with clay when you're working with it, just because it starts drying out. Now, this is a good thickness. Let's see if I have it the size I need it though. Yes, I do. Perfect. So you're going to get a circle tracer like I have right here, and you're going to carve around the edges of your circle tracer, and this is going to be the base of your pancake stack. So I'm cutting all the way around. There we go. Now I'm going to pull up those pieces. Don't throw them out because you might use them later. And I'm going to write my initials on here. S, M, M. That's a little sloppy, but whatever. And then I'm going to flip that over. Your initials might disappear depending on how hard you press on the clay. Hopefully you don't press too hard when we start adding details onto it. So now you're going to be making a thing called a coil pot. So what you're going to do is you're going to take pieces of clay, scrap clay that you have, and you're going to start rolling it into a coil. I'm going to move this off to the side for now. So while I'm rolling it into a coil, I'm pressing down on it with my palm. If I do it with my fingers, you can see it's starting to get these little bumps and it's not very even. So use your palm, spread it out, move your palm back and forth on it, and if you get it long enough, you can use both of your palms. My hands are too big for that though. You're going to be rolling a bunch of these, and this will cause the clay to dry out, so don't be afraid to use some water. You want to try to get the coil the same thickness all the way around. So now I have one coil rolled. You should do one at a time, otherwise it's going to start drying out and you'll be very frustrated. And I'm going to score this. Score means to mark all the way around the edges of the base of my pancake stack. Score in both directions, horizontally and vertically. And then I'm going to take my coil, spritz it a little with water, and this is where you have to be careful because the coils do like to break sometimes, and I'm going to score my coils. I'm just going to go in one direction with my coils because they can be a pain. As you can see, that one's already starting to dry out a little. So add some water and smooth those cracks if you see them starting to appear. And then I'm just going to score the rest of the way. Okay, now you're going to take slip. Slip looks gross, but it's just ground up clay and water. Almost like mud, but not really. And I'm going to coat it around the edges of where I just scored. You don't want to smooth it over, you just want to coat it lightly on there so those score marks are still there. And I'm going to do the same thing on my coil that I just made as well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start wrapping and pressing down my coil around my pancake stack. You're going to be repeating this process a lot. So, I'm going to move this out of the way again, grab another piece of clay, and start creating a coil. This might be a good way to start off, and then you can start spreading it out. Make sure you are slipping and scoring. If you are not scoring and just slipping, chances are that after I fire this in the kiln, your piece will fall off. And that's because you did not do this properly. Now, I am starting to overlap my coils. So, I'm going to put this where my last one just ended, press it down, and as you can see, I'm getting up here. So I'm going to have to score up at my next coil. You are going to build this so it is however tall you want it to be. Make sure when you start wrapping the coils around that you're staying right on top of it. Don't start pressing it out like that or it's going to fall when you start going off. So you want to make sure they're right on top of each other, and you're going to keep building this up. Okay, when you get your stack to the height that you want it to, or the size that you want it to, or you can't build it any higher, just leave it like that. You can smooth the edges if you want to, where your slip and score is coming, or your score is coming out with your slip. But you don't want to make the coils disappear, or it's not going to look like a stack of pancakes. I mean, you could smooth it and then it would be like one giant pancake, but I don't know if you want that. So, my pancake is now the height that I want it. Actually, I might do one more coil, but for time's sake, I'm not going to make it any bigger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to now take my second piece that I cut in half, and I'm going to spread that out. Let's see if it's good enough. Good. So now I'm going to cut around this again. I'm actually going to go not quite close around the edges. I'm going to leave a little room just in case it needs to be a little bigger for the lid. Pull off those extras, put them off to the side. And let's see if it fits on my stack of pancakes. Good, it does. So if you want to, you can make it a little smaller. If you don't like the way it is, just don't make it too small that your lid won't fit. So there we go. Don't worry if it's starting to cave in like mine is, because it's going to dry, and when it's fired, it will be ceramic and it will hold its form. Now, here is where you want to start adding details on the top of your pancakes. So, think about what you like to eat on pancakes. Personally, I just like butter and syrup. But maybe you like strawberries or blueberries or whipped cream. I don't know. Maybe you like something else on it. So you're going to make those details out of clay and add them on here. I'm just going to make butter, and then I'm going to draw some syrup on here. So I have this rolled out. I'm going to cut like a little stack of butter for that. Okay, so there's my butter on my pancake. I'm going to smooth it a little, and if my score is showing through, I'm just going to smooth that with the slip a little. And I'm going to draw on here like my syrup. But you don't have to draw it on here. That's just an option. You could just paint it on here. But I'm going to draw my syrup coming off of my pancakes. There we go. So now I am done. Extra clay will go onto a pile. It will be recycled. Please do not throw it out. So all of this extra clay will be recycled for us to use. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your project in a bag. Very carefully. You don't want to smush it. So I'm going to put this in a bag. If it's at the end of the class and you are not done, put it in the bag and seal it tight so that no air can get in there. Because if air is getting in there and you didn't shut it tight, it's going to start drying. Because when air reacts with clay, it starts drying it. And once clay is dry, you can't start adding details on there anymore. If you're done, you can leave it open a little and it will start drying out. Have fun, my most amazing artists.